Episode 124. Did Dario visit her last night? Despite suddenly having to change the script and rearrange the plot, they couldn't delay their progress. They were forced to work late, and Jade was shooting for the whole day. She was so tired that she felt like her body was about to fall apart. When she finished work that night, she was incredibly tired. As they finished filming, she looked at the time and found that it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. She didn't expect to be so tired after the first day of filming. The moment she returned to her room, she resisted the urge to take off her makeup and take a bath. Just before she was about to go to sleep, she couldn't help but take out her phone and look at it. She didn't see a call or a text message from the number she had expected. She suddenly felt a little disappointed. She wanted to make a phone call, but she thought that it was already too late. He should have already gone to sleep, and she didn't have the nerve to disturb him. She sent him a text message and told him about what happened that day. She then went to sleep in a daze. She didn't know if he would see it that night or not. An hour later, a familiar figure quietly walked into her room and gently sat down beside her. He was afraid to wake her up. Jade was already very tired, but she was still frowning when she fell asleep. She seemed to be having a very uneasy sleep. Dario, who was sitting on the bed, immediately took off his clothes and laid down beside her. Jade seemed to notice something and subconsciously rolled over into his warm embrace. Her tightly knitted brows completely relaxed. Seeing her small movements, a smile appeared in Dario's tired eyes. But when he saw Jade's haggard face, he felt a surge of pain in his heart. He didn't expect that she would have been so busy that day. He heard that she didn't have a chance to rest very much during the day. She must be exhausted. He wished that she could stay at home and be his little princess. However, he didn't want to stop her from pursuing her dreams. If he did that, Jade would lose her glory. So, he could only do his best to let her do what she liked and to secretly protect her. Dario didn't stay for long because he had spent a lot of time with Jade at home over the last few days. To spend time with her, he didn't hesitate to travel back and forth for 2 hours. When he received her text message, he immediately rushed over. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Dario kissed Jade's delicate lips a few times before he reluctantly left. When he left, his movements were very light. Jade was still sleeping, and she didn't even feel that he had come. In the hotel, Dario knocked on the window and woke up Lucas, who was still sleeping. Lucas opened his eyes in a daze and sleepily looked at Dario. He looked at the time and opened the window. He said lightly, "You said that you wanted to go back and forth for more than 2 hours just to see the sunrise?" Dario had made up that excuse for Lucas. Dario didn't say anything. He just calmly took the car keys and sat in the driver's seat. When he was just about to start driving, Lucas immediately woke up and hurriedly said, "Let me drive." Dario looked at his bloodshot eyes and said coldly, "No need, I'm afraid of death." He then stepped on the accelerator and drove to Washington. He wanted to rush back before 8 o'clock because he had an important meeting to attend. Lucas was overwhelmed by the favor and yawned. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes after being forced to wake up. Lucas calculated that the drive would take more than 4 hours, and Jade would still be asleep. She didn't know that he was there at all. So why did Dario come there, and why was he leaving without meeting her properly? Lucas looked at Dario, who was driving seriously. He already had an answer in his heart. Jade originally wanted to get up early to read the script. She even specially set the alarm clock. She didn't expect that she would sleep until she woke up naturally. She slept almost until 9 o'clock, and no one came to call her. She looked at her phone and felt that something was a little strange. Could it be that her phone's alarm clock wasn't working again? Jade looked at the bed in confusion. She couldn't help but touch the spot beside her. The weather was cold as she had expected, but it seemed that someone had been there during the night, since she slept very peacefully. The spot beside her was also very warm. Could it be that Dario had come? But how could that be? He should still be in Washington. How could he have come here? How could anyone be so stupid? He came all the way here. She rushed back early in the morning and then turned on her phone. She looked at it. She still hadn't received any messages or calls, and he hadn't replied to the messages she sent the night before. Jade pouted and knocked hard on her phone. She muttered sadly. He didn't reply. He didn't know that she was on the phone either. Could he have forgotten about me? He must be too busy with work. Or maybe he hasn't woken up yet. That must be it. Just as she was about to wash up, there was a knock at the door. She suddenly felt a burst of joy in her heart. She had a trace of anticipation and excitement. But when she saw the person at the door, she nodded slightly in embarrassment. She politely said, "Caroline, morning." You aren't up yet? I just got up. Hurry up. I'll go wash my face right away. Jade opened the door and let Caroline in. She cleaned herself up as quickly as possible and then went out with Caroline. Jade followed behind Caroline. The small hotel had 2 flights of stairs. One of them was relatively close, but for some reason, Caroline brought her to the innermost stairs. Although Jade was a little puzzled, she didn't say anything. When she walked inside, a heart-wrenching roar shocked her. She thought that something had happened. When she listened carefully, she heard a familiar voice. She found that Ashley and Taylor seemed to be quarrelling there. But their quarrel had nothing to do with her. Just when Jade was about to leave, Caroline stopped moving. The sounds were so loud that some people who had still been sleeping came out. About a dozen people were living on the 2nd floor, and they all came out to see what was going on. Jade couldn't help but wonder whether Caroline also wanted to watch the show. But Jade thought that she wasn't that kind of person. In other words, there must have been other reasons. Jade was very puzzled. Caroline took another step forward and stood at the door of the 2 people's room. There was no expression on her face, and Jade also followed. She found that the door of the 2 people's room was open. They were not only yelling, but were starting to fight. The fight was getting very intense. They were both still in their pajamas with disheveled hair. They both looked very embarrassed. Taylor looked the worst. Her body was pinched red, but Jade didn't sympathize with them at all. Jade thought that their relationship had always been very good. She hadn't expected to see them fighting that day.